In this video, we're going to go through how to use the mirror command to help us with this key plate, making it, and also just how to make it easily modifiable. We're also going to use construction lines in this one, which we haven't used yet, but are very, very useful for iterative design as well. So let's start by creating a sketch, and we'll put it on our top view. Again, I expect you guys to be making this along with me, and I'm going to ask that you submit it. So make sure that you're creating this. So I'm going to create a rectangle, but instead of using a standard corner rectangle, I'm going to use a center point rectangle because I want to keep everything centered on the origin. Okay. So I'm going to click here. And then I want to modify the dimensions of this rectangle. D on my keyboard. Now I have to figure out what this dimension should be. Now I'm making a bounding rectangle. This entire shape is going to fit within that rectangle. As I look here, I see this dimension is 5 inches, but that's not the total horizontal dimension. We have these two arcs here that extend out, and the radius is 1 inch. So this is going to be 1 inch more on this side, 1 inch more on that side. 5 plus 1 plus 1 is 7. Hit enter. Now dimension for the vertical portion. We have 2.5 inches here, and again we have these two arcs that are 1 inch in radius. So 1 plus 2.5 plus 1 is going to be 4.5. Okay, we've set up our bounding rectangle. Now what we're going to do before we draw any of these circles or arcs is I'm going to put a construction line that goes down the center of this and in some other spots where it makes sense for setting up these circles. So how do I do construction lines? Well, here's what we do. We go to this drop down here and we scroll down and we find construction. If you ever have trouble finding it though, you can always type it into the search bar up top. We find construction lines. So now that I've selected construction, everything I draw, whether it be a line, circle, rectangle, whatever it is going to be a construction. You see that it has this different pattern. That indicates it's a construction line, and it will not affect anything that's extruded. What it will do, however, let me just delete this last bit. What it will do, however, is it'll allow you to base dimensions off of it. Let me show you. So I'm still drawing for construction right now. So I'm going to draw a construction line that goes down the middle. Oh, I'm not in construction. Let me delete that guy. And go on this drop down and select construction. Draw a line down the middle here. Draw another line down the middle here. And you'll notice these lines are not construction. I need to actually go through and make this construction. There we go. All right. Now, I want to also, for these circles, draw construction lines where these center lines fall. Here, so I'm going to draw, for construction, draw a line here. And I'm also going to draw a line here. These obviously are not in the right spot. Make sure this is construction. These obviously are not in the right spot. I'm going to need to dimension them, which is what I'm going to do right now. So dimension, select the line, select this vertical line. What is this distance here? Okay, it is the radius of this arc, which is 1 inch. Same thing in this direction, 1 inch. So I've set up everything I need for this circle and this arc in the corner. So let's get started with that. So I'm going to draw a circle. I press C on my keyboard to do that. And I'm going to draw it clearly too big. And then I'm going to draw a 3-point arc, or a center point arc might be better. Let's see what this says here. Click to indicate the starting point, center point. Click to indicate the starting point. And click to indicate the end point. That's good here. So I'm going to select end point. Ooh, start point, end point. Oh, cool. So center point, I misspoke there. I click the center point. Let's do that again because I misspoke. Center point, start point, end point, 3-point arc. Beautiful. Okay. Now I need to dimension the circle. Let's see. What's the size of these 4 holes? Okay. 3/4 inch drill. Drill means diameter because that's the size drill bit you would use to create this. So I'm going to type in 0.75. And voila, I've made my circle, and arc here. Now what I want to do is I want to replicate this in the other 3 corners. Now I could draw more center lines to do that, and just do the same way I just did, but then they would all be treated independently, and I wouldn't be able to modify them all together. I would need to modify them one at a time if I wanted to make a change. So I'm going to type in mirror into the search bar, and I see the preview, select the line to mirror about, and then the second thing is select entities to mirror. Sounds pretty simple. Okay, select mirror, and I see it selected up here, and it shows a preview of what this command does. Select a mirror line is what it prompts me to do up top. I select this horizontal line, then my entities to mirror are going to be my circle and my arc. And then when I'm done, I can just hit escape. Now I want to do mirror again, so I'm going to select that. And for my mirror line now, it's going to be this vertical line. And my mirror entities to mirror will be my 2 circles and my 2 arcs. Click here, and I'm done. This is really nice because let's say I wanted to change the size of this to 0.1. It changes all of them. If I wanted to change it again, make it 1 inch, it changes all of them. Let me put them back to 0.75. I also can change the location of them all together. Let's say this distance here, I don't want it to be 1 inch. I want it to be more. I want it to be 2 inches. I want to change this to be 2 inches. Or let me make it something more reasonable that won't look crazy. Let's do 1.5 and 1.5. You see that they all shift together because they're based off of each other. Not only is their size based off each other, but their position. So if you're dealing with something, like we often do in robotics, that's symmetrical, you get this. You can do this really nice patterns, these mirrors that allow things to work nicely. Okay, now let's do, let's actually trim our corners before we do anything else. You'll find trim here. And again, if you don't know where it is, you can always search for it. Trim, trim, trim. And as I did that, I actually realized something. A lot of my stuff went blue, which means it's underdefined. And I think the reason for that is because I trimmed away these corners that define some sort of position for us. So what we can do, I'm still in trim, let me undo that part. What we can do is we can dimension this distance here, and we'll leave that alone, and we can dimension this distance here. Leave that alone as well, just to make sure that everything is placed properly. Whenever you get blue, that means something is under constrained, and that can be size or it can be position. We always want to make sure everything is fully constrained so that something doesn't suddenly shift. Okay, now let's do this center nonsense. All right, let's do a circle first. Start in the center, and we'll give it radius to be 3. Why can't I click in there? I got to figure that out. Okay. Dimension it to be 3 inches. So there's our circle. Now we need to do these slots and this rectangle here. So I'm actually going to start with the rectangle here because even though it looks a little confusing, it's not that bad. Okay, I'm just going to draw one. And I'm just going to do one rectangle instead of doing like 2 little ones and cutting it out. I think it's easier if I just do one. And I'll dimension it. I know this direction, this one, is going to be 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75. And then what else do I know? I know this distance is 3/8 of an inch. So I'll select this point here, this point here. Ooh, it's doing it at a weird angle. How about if I select this here and this here? That doesn't look quite right because it's 3/8 to this intersection here. This is interesting. let's draw a line for construction. Let's draw one from here to here. Okay. And let's dimension that distance to be 3/8 of an inch. There we go. That looks good. And now what I can actually do is I can just do the same thing on the other side. I don't think this is a place where we want to mirror really, because it's a little weird. But you probably could. My brain power is not quite there right now to get it to work that way. Okay, we'll make that 3/8 as well. Oh, over. Of course, I don't need to do this because this is a center rectangle, so it's already symmetrical. All right, so I can just trim some stuff. Trim away these arcs here. And trim away these lines here. Okay, this section is now complete at the right size, and if I want to modify anything, I can change how far this sticks out. If I want to make it 0.5, it'll stick out a little further. It'll change on the other side. Back to 3/8, I can change this distance to be 1 inch, and we'll just spread out further. So it's really nice because it does it everywhere. But let's put it back to what it's supposed to be, which is 0.75. Okay. Now, last thing we need to do is these two sides. I'm just going to do one side, and then mirror to the other side. If I look at this arc here, I'll see that it's actually on the same center line as these two holes, and I actually have that construction line right here to work with. So let's use it. Let's draw a circle. And what is the radius of this circle? I look over here, and it says 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'll type in dimension of 0.75, and then I can draw a line to the circle, a line to the circle. There's a couple of ways you could have done this, what I'm doing now. And then we'll trim. This is just one of those ways. Trim, 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 trim. And then, now that we have that, we can mirror. M, I think is for mirror. No, what's the hotkey for mirror? There isn't one. That's annoying. All right, select the mirror line, that. Select entities to mirror, this line, and this arc. Here we go. Hit enter, hit escape. And then we can trim away these two arcs, and our piece is done. Now you might be saying to yourself, wait, Mr. Blay, I need to add center lines. In drafting, I always added center lines to everything. Well, you know, we're creating a 3D part. It's not really important in the sketch to include these center lines because we already have them for the circle we're basing everything off of. We don't need to add additional center lines or construction lines anywhere. This is already good. Now that we've finished that, we can extrude, which is Shift E. Okay, right click to rotate, and we'll extrude this one a depth of 0.125 inches. So 1/8 of an inch. And done. Save it. Actually, I won't save it locally. I'll just save it on the cloud, and that's it. So again, the mirror command, very useful. I can go back into the sketch. I can edit some things. Let's say I want to edit this distance to be 0.75 here and 0.75 here, so changing my arcs that I'm working with, these corner arcs. Well, it'll update the entire Control Y, Control Z just to see how it changes. And that's just by changing two numbers. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time.